Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever part of this crazy world you live in. Okay, Gabby Petito. Gabby Petito was young, beautiful, popular, vibrant. She was a successful vlogger. And she had thousands of followers on her social media of her van life posts, etc., and just general things in her life. She was that popular. 3 years ago, she went on a van life trip around America with her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, and never came back. Let's chat. Hey, so it's me, Vicky Marie. If you don't know me, if you've not watched my channel before, I do a lot of videos about true crime, but occasionally we do videos about other things. But I quite often like to go back on cases. We must never forget people like Gabby, who 3 years ago, it was a few days ago, sort of the anniversary, if that's the right word to call it, of Gabby's murder by her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. We should never forget these incidents. We should never forget these people. We're always on a quest. Maybe there'll come a day where these things won't happen again. But, it's sometimes you feel like you're fighting a losing battle. But we should still never forget these victims. And this is Gabby up in the top right-hand corner of your screens. As you can see, very beautiful young girl. But also, not only beautiful on the outside, but it seems like Gabby was beautiful on the inside too. She was popular. She was loved. She was just, a special young lady. And she was taken from this world by somebody who said that he loved her. And that's what we're going to talk about today, so we don't forget this case. Also, it was a very big case at the time. It was probably, for me, the first time that I really noticed social media, coming out, the frenzy of social media that came out on this case. And it was worldwide, people were following it. I mean, I'm in Spain. I'm in mainland Spain, people in Britain, people in America, Australia, all over the world were following this case of Gabby, because there was quite a long time when we didn't know what happened to her. So anyway, first of all, I just want to say thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your Tuesday. It's a Tuesday if you're watching this video, if you're watching this as it's live. If not, hi, replay crew. But it's either terrific Tuesday or terrible Tuesday, depending on what sort of Tuesday you're having. But we're going to be positive and think it's terrific Tuesday. So yeah, but thank you to all my subscribers. It costs nothing to subscribe, so please consider subscribing, because it really helps out my channel. And don't forget to press the notification bell if you want to hear about new videos coming out. In fact, I'll just put my banner on for a moment, just so it reminds me of what I'm supposed to say in my thank yous, etc. And yeah, and special thank you to my members. Why not consider becoming a member? Tonight is Tuesday nights and Thursday nights are members live streams. Very special, the members live streams. I've sort of got something important to say, but I'm not going to say it now. I'm going to keep it because I still haven't quite decided. But anyway, sorry, totally wavering off the point there, though it is to do with members. So yeah, Tuesday and Thursday nights, members live streams. If you can't join in the live stream, you can always watch on catch up. So why not consider becoming a member if you want to support my channel, which is a really big help to me. Thank you to all of you who buy me Ko-Fis or send me super stickers or PayPal me. I really appreciate every way that anyone supports my channel, leaving a nice message, sending an email. You know, I have a lot of interaction with my chatters, with my chatterati, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, I can take the banner off now. Now I'm going to say hello to everybody who's here, and then I'm going to get into this story. Now, if I don't have, as I go on with the story of Gabby, with Gabby's story, I might not be able to join in with the chat. As some, you know, I do like to join in with the chat sometimes. That's why I like to do premieres sometimes or recorded lives, because then I can join in with the chat and actually have some personal communication with you guys. But sometimes when I'm actually doing a live video that's not pre-recorded, it's difficult. So I like to say hello to everybody at the beginning, everybody who's here and joining in, but also hello to people who don't join in the chat. Chat's not for everyone. Not everyone wants to participate in the chat. So hello to those of you watching at home. Hello to you, those of you watching on replay crew. And let's have a look at who's actually here. Or participating in the chat. Hi Annie. Hi David. Yes, that work, it gets in the way, doesn't it? Oh, so for those of you who don't know, I am a Spanish teacher. I'd like to say that's my proper job, but I spend more time on this YouTube channel. I spend more hours on the YouTube channel than I do on the Spanish classes. But that's, I suppose, because the YouTube channel, although it is work, of course, you know, I hope to one day be making a proper living from it. It doesn't feel like work because I enjoy it. Having said that, I do enjoy doing the Spanish classes too. So I've been very lucky in my life because from sort of probably maybe for the last 20 odd years, I've been doing things that I enjoy doing, working for myself, you know, not working. I mean, I've done all that. I've worked for other people. I've worked for big companies. I've done that, and what I find is, because when you work for yourself, you know, you don't get paid much more really at the end of the day by the time you've paid everything out, but at least you've got the feeling that you're doing it for you and you're not having to suffer fools gladly. You know, I don't think I could go back now to someone telling me what to do who, you know, maybe I didn't have any respect for. So that's, you know, at least if my boss makes a mess of things, it's my own fault because that's me. So, you know, there's that. But of course it is insecure, but sometimes, especially in Spain, you can be very insecure working for other people. You know, you don't have any security. So really how I ended up working for myself was, well, if you're going to be insecure anyway, you may as well be insecure working for yourself as much as insecure working for anyone else. So that's my other job. I teach Spanish. Maybe at the end of this video, I'll put on the video about my Spanish classes. And then those of you who've already seen it, you can click out or carry on chatting, you know, as the video rolls. And people who may be watching my channel for the first time and don't know about it, maybe you'll spare me a few more minutes at the end of this video just to see how I could help you to learn Spanish. Okay, sorry, I was saying hello to everybody, wasn't I? I got distracted. Yes, because Annie was saying that work gets in the way. I know when we have to work, when really we want to do other things. So hi Annie, hi David. As David says, it's the work that pays the bills, and the bills have to be paid, and they're relentless, aren't they? Oh my God. I was just thinking, I remember sort of just last year having much more sort of, being able to, but going to the supermarket, for example, and you'd be able to buy some treats at least or whatever. Not now, just getting your basics, you've got nothing left. Hi, blank faces. Hi, Chumba. Yes, it's a very sad case, Chumba. Yeah, definitely a narcissist. And you know what reminds this case of lovely Gabby? Reminds me a lot of the parents, Brian Laundrie's, her boyfriend's parents, the Laundries, or the dirty Laundries, as they were called at the time. They remind me a lot of Stephen Stearns' parents. They were so unhelpful to Gabby's parents. When Gabby went missing and nobody knew where she was, and Gabby's parents were frantic, and they were texting the Laundries, her boyfriend's parents, because Gabby lived there. I think what's always important as well to remember here, she wasn't a girlfriend, just some girl that they heard Brian was going out with, but they didn't really know. She lived with them. They had a relationship with her. Just like with Stephen Stearns' parents, Madeline Soto, really, in effect, is their granddaughter. They said she calls Stephen dad, that she is or was their step granddaughter. And then after she died, they've hardly got a tear for her or a word to say about what she went through, just feeling sorry for Stefan and thinking it's all Jennifer's fault. And the Laundries reminded me, or they remind me a lot of the Laundries. So although the Petitos were absolutely frantic what's happened to Gabby, the Laundries blanked them, completely didn't answer their texts. In the end, that did go, Gabby's family, the Petitos, they did take the Laundries to court, but settlement was made. Not because the Laundries, obviously they hadn't done anything to Gabby, but they were covering up for Brian. I don't think we still even know the extent that they covered up for Brian. And I know Brian is their son, or was their son, and they've lost a son too, as you'll see when I go through the story. But, I don't have a lot of sympathy for them, to be honest. So let's talk about Gabby. It's still hot here. It's 30 degrees today. It's 30 degrees and it's only 12 o'clock. So, sorry, I'm in mainland Spain for anybody who doesn't know. And we're just coming to the end of a very usual hot summer, though, to be honest. Hasn't been as hot as some of the summers we've had. But you know what? I'm not complaining because I'm here. I'm still here. Every day is a blessing. So let's have a look at some photos of Gabby. Now, I think the reason that this case grabbed so much attention, apart from the fact that obviously Gabby was a young girl, very attractive girl, I don't think it was just because of that. I think it was the mystery of it. There's the mystery of when she disappeared, where did she go, what had happened to her. Then Brian disappeared, didn't he? And then it was, well, where's Brian gone? I mean, Brian Laundrie, her partner, here you can see him on these photos. He was hitting well above his weight, wasn't he? I mean, no wonder. I bet he was so insecure with Gabby, because Gabby, she looks so young, even younger than her years. He looks older, doesn't he? He does look older. And of course, it looks like he was losing his hair, and that's difficult for a young man. I always say to my son moans sometimes because he's got grey in his hair, but he's got loads of hair. That runs in my family and in his dad's family. Lots of hair, but go grey quite young. But I said to him, look, if you had a choice, probably most people who go bald, they'd rather have hair, because you can do something with that. There's products you can put on to hide the grey, etc. But if you go bald, really, unless you have a replacement, a hair replacement therapy. So I just felt that maybe Brian felt conscious that he was hitting above his weight, that he was. Wonder if he was paranoidly jealous, because did he think that one day Gabby would leave him? Which she probably wouldn't. The trouble is with paranoid jealousy, and I think there was definitely marijuana involved in this case. And at the end of the day, if you're already a bit paranoid, marijuana's not going to help, is it? And I felt that when we're going to watch the video of when they got pulled over by the police. Gabby was so distraught. But the way that she was distraught made you wonder, was there some substance abuse going on? I mean, don't mean, hard drugs, but, you know what I think about marijuana. It can affect young minds. And that you just felt like maybe there was something there for these arguments they were having. Or maybe it was just a toxic relationship. But was Brian jealous? I mean, it seems like he was jealous. They seem to argue quite a lot. Now, the thing is, when you look at their social media posts, of course, oh, look, it's all smiles. Brian would be tagging on to the videos that that she made. He would like be there. But when you look at them, to me, him especially, him more than her, to be honest, doesn't look genuine. His smiles look forced, strained. To me, that's just an impression that I get. And sometimes the same with Gabby. The trouble with social media, Instagram, all these things is you're putting on this face to the world as if everything is fantastic. And I know, from people I know who've got social media accounts, they're not, things aren't fantastic. In fact, the more pictures that someone puts on, in my experience, the more people put pictures on to show how happy they are, you can conclude that actually they're pretty miserable. That's my opinion. Because really, if you're really happy, why would you need to put all those pictures on to show how happy you are? And why would you need to show everyone what brilliant time you're having? Just have your brilliant time. And then the other thing that always amazes me is people talk to each other through social media. People living in the same house. One of them will put a post on Facebook saying something like, oh, I really love Mr. such and such, meaning their partner. And then that person will come back and say, yes, I really love you too. On Facebook, for everybody to see. What's that about? They're sat next to you probably as you're on, you sat on the sofa with your bloody phone. Just turn around to them and say, I love you. You don't have to say it on Facebook. It's like too much. It's like you're trying to say to the world that you love somebody, but they're literally sat next to you. Just turn around and tell them you love them. You don't have to do it in public like that. So I think, the more you see all this, and, she's so beautiful, Gabby, and it's all, look at this, all smiles, etc. Very just surreal, I think. Why would you have to do that? And this is the reality here, coming down here. This is the reality of what was happening in Gabby's world with Brian Laundrie, because she took a photo of her injuries. She took a photo of her injuries when he slapped her across the face or whatever he did to her. That's the reality of what was happening to Gabby Petito. And this is the fantasy of what was going on with Gabby Petito. And it turns out Brian Laundrie was very dark. He had a very dark, they found drawings that he'd done, etc. He had a very dark side to him. And Gabby was all light, It's very sad, very sad. Yeah. Hi, Heather. Hi, Kelly. Yeah, we're not even writing to them, Kelly. Sometimes they're living with them in the same house. Could you imagine sending your husband, you live with your husband, you send him a message on Facebook, when he's probably sat opposite you at the kitchen table? Why would you even do that? I don't know. It's too much, too much. Hi, BF. Hi, Seffi. So, yes, 3 years. 3 years have gone past. Very sad, isn't it? So, of course, Gabby, she was on the threshold of her life. She was in her early 20s. I'm not sure, was she 21 or something like that? 22 years old. And her and Brian decided to go on this van life journey across the United States. Now, the thing is, the van that they were going in belonged to Gabby. And sometimes I think we have to remember that, because in a moment, we're going to watch the encounter they had with the police. It was so infuriating how the police just assumed that the van belonged to Brian because he was the man. The van was Gabby's. Off they went. They were supposed to go for 4 months on this trip, and they left. Oh, I think it's raining. Sorry. Oh, just a moment. I'm going to have to go and bring the washing in. There you go. That's your. That's what's happened. Let me put a nice picture of Gabby up just for you to look at. That's what happens when you're doing a live on YouTube. It starts raining and I've got the washing out. I'm glad it's raining though. Right, won't be sick. Okay, that's how you know it. There you go. That's raw live. Vicky Marie chats. Starts raining. I have to go and get the washing in. It's not very glamorous being a YouTuber, you know. Okay, where was I? Right. So off they went on this van life trip, and it was planned to last 4 months, and they left on July the 2nd, 2021. Now, at first, everything seemed fine. So Gabby was making regular posts on her Instagram, etc. She was in contact regularly with her family, having a great time to all intents and purposes. So up until when Gabby disappeared, really, nobody really knew of what was really going on in this relationship between Gabby and Brian. So he raised suspicion because he drove the van back. Bear in mind, this was Gabby's van, not his van. Brian turned up at his parents' with the van. but no Gabby. Now, I don't know what that conversation must have been, but can you imagine if your boys, your son's partner, not just someone who you'd never even met even, but someone who'd lived with you, that you had a relationship with, you knew they went off together in their van, and he turned up with the van, but no Gabby, no girlfriend. I think you'd be asking some questions, wouldn't you? But anyway, who knows? Who knows what the actual conversation was between Brian and his family when he turned up, because they're only telling, what they want to tell about it. I don't think we'll ever get the truth of what actually was said and why he said Gabby wasn't there. He just refused, they said, he refused to discuss where she was. But at the same time, he was also making withdrawals with her debit card. So he was declared a person of interest, but the police had no evidence, that he'd actually done anything. Then he disappeared on September the 13th. He disappeared from his home right under the noses of the police. Now, bear in mind, up to now, we still didn't know. The police still didn't know what had happened to Gabby. They declared him a person of interest in the fact that she was missing, but they didn't know that anything. They suspected things, but they had no proof. Now, I don't know if you remember that, but I was following. At the time, I was following all these YouTube channels. Let's say, like some of the YouTube channels that have been talking about Jay Slater or TikTok. I don't think TikTok was a really big thing then so much. It was mainly YouTube, I think, or maybe I just wasn't into TikTok. But oh my God, it was hysteria. I mean, I remember watching videos where they were saying, I mean, it seems ridiculous now, but I got swept up in. You can definitely get swept up in all this hysteria. They were saying that Brian Laundrie was under his parents' garden and reaching. Is this Brian Laundrie reaching out to get a drink? Roberta's out there in the garden, his mum, doing the gardening with a trowel. And these YouTubers are saying, oh, was that a hand that came up to get a glass of water or to get some food? Is Brian Laundrie underneath the garden? And I was, honestly, I hold my hands up. I was worse than anyone. I wasn't making videos like that, but I was like, looking, see, is that Brian Laundrie's hand? It's like a collective madness that happens, isn't it? It's like you get obsessed with what's going on, and you sort of, I mean, I didn't believe that he was under the garden, but there's part of me, it's like you're looking at it and you're thinking, no, that's a load of rubbish. But there's a little bit in the back of your head thinking, was that a hand? Was that a hand? I mean, it was just crackers. Dog the bounty hunter, he always gets involved, doesn't he, somewhere along the line. He went up to the house, he's knocking on the door. And I did feel some sympathy for the Laundries in that sense, because by then their son had gone missing too. And, they said they didn't know where he was. I still feel that maybe they knew exactly where he was. I wonder if he didn't tell them, that he was going off to do what he was going to do, because he went off and deleted himself, didn't he, in a park nearby. But sometimes I wonder about that, and I wondered, did they know? Because his life was over. He knew his life was over. He probably really regretted killing Gabby. These twonks normally do, don't they? But it'll all be about him. He was going to prison. He couldn't live without Gabby, all those kind of things. But I still wouldn't be surprised if the Laundries did know that he was going to do that, or he'd done that. But of course, there was a problem with flooding. There'd been a lot of rain where he'd chosen to go off and delete himself. His body wasn't found until the floods cleared. Anyway, during this time of him disappearing and still not knowing where Gabby was, so it's all going on. And then this case, and not a lot of people talk about this. One thing I was happy to see that Nancy Grace does talk about, this case, or certainly finding Gabby's remains, would not have happened without other YouTubers, vloggers. It was solved by social media. So another, what happened was other van lifers, a family who were also vlogging, and they'd gone to the Teton National Park, and they'd seen a white van that had Florida plates, and because they were from Florida as well, they noticed it. I never noticed bloody car number plates, but I suppose if I was out in Spain somewhere and I saw a British number plate, maybe I'd notice that. I don't know if I would, because I'm the world's worst with cars. I don't notice anything. I don't even notice the colour most of the time. It's just a car. So it's big or it's small. Big or small car. That's about it really for me that I would notice. Anyway, these van lifers, they noticed this van, and they slowed down, hoping to talk to whoever was in it, but they couldn't see anybody. But there's some talk that maybe Brian was in the back of that car at the time. But anyway, what the upshot of it was that when it all came out about Gabby, and of course it was all over the social media, etc., and the news, this family realised that they'd seen this white van in that park, and they looked back at it and realised it was Gabby's van and Gabby's remains. The police descended on that area, and Gabby's remains, sadly, were found just over the bushes, like just in a field near to where the van had been parked. So I may be able to find that video in a moment. So at least they had Gabby, unfortunately deceased, but at least her family didn't have to be worrying anymore what had happened to her. But Brian was still missing. Wasn't he? And then eventually, after about a month of speculation and an extended search of the area around his home, his remains were found in now I'll never pronounce this, Myakahatchee Creek Environmental Park, and they were found on October the 20th. And an autopsy confirmed that he had died from a self-inflicted gunshot to the head. Now, during the time he was missing, he was seen everywhere. This is the problem, isn't it? Social media. Now, it was good in one way because it solved the question of where is Gabby? But of course, it would be bad in another way because there was all these wild theories going on. Brian had been seen on the Appalachian Trail. Dog the Bounty Hunter was convinced he was still alive on the run somewhere. People were reporting sightings of him everywhere. Anyway, it was all rubbish. And finally, the mystery of what had happened to Gabby and what had happened to Brian started to become clear. And it was a very sad story of coercive control, domestic violence, just a very tragic story, really. Poor Gabby, just somehow she felt tied to Brian, but really she should have gone running the very first time that he showed any of this behaviour towards her. So apparently Brian admitted to killing Gabby in his notebook, and we're going to have a look at that as well. So let's first of all have a look at so during the time that Gabby and Brian were on the road, unbeknownst to her parents, because I doubt very much that Gabby told her parents anything about this, there was an incident where a concerned sort of bystander, if you like, phoned the police and said they'd seen somebody, a man hitting a woman, slapping her across the face. And the police went a look at, for for this van that this man had said he'd seen the couple get into. He said that he'd seen the man slap the woman across the face. They'd got into this van, so the police went looking for them. And this is the what do they call it? The not webcam, body cam. It's very just a warning, because I think it's really quite upsetting. Every time I watch this, and I don't even know Gabby, I just think her family, they must want to just pluck her out of this video, you know, or shout at the police. For God's sake, don't you realise what danger she's in?
Gabby, Brian, okay. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm just crying. We've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
You want to tell me what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just some days I have really bad OCD, and
okay.
I was just cleaning and straightening up the back of the van before, and I was apologizing to him and saying, "I'm sorry that I'm so mean."
So sad, because she just took all the blame on herself. I was apologizing to him. I'm sorry I was so mean to you. He's a CUNT, and she's apologizing to him, because that's what they do. That's what they do. They make you feel like it's all your fault. It was not her fault. It was his fault. And then when he gets out the car, he's like butter won't melt in his mouth. He's like Mr. Nice Guy. He's like, oh my God, yeah, I couldn't possibly do anything wrong. And the police believed him. And to be fair, it was Gabby herself saying that it was her fault. But I don't know. I hope they've had more training since then, because you can see from a mile off that Gabby, it's not Gabby's fault that she's saying this. She's been trained to do this, really, or been chipped away at probably over years to take all the blame for everything. But this hysteria that she's got and this sadness, it is, you know, I do feel like there's a bit more to it as well, maybe a bit of substance abuse.
Because sometimes I have OCD and sometimes I just get really frustrated. Not like mean towards him. I just like, I guess my vibe is like I hear him be like in a bad mood. And I was just saying, I'm sorry if I'm in a bad mood. I've just been really stressed. I had
yeah, or taking all the blame on herself. He probably, I mean, they're living in a van. They've got limited space, so you have to keep everything perfect. Otherwise, you know, it's not like your big house that you can be messy in. You've got this van. There's a place for everything and everything in its place. That's the only way that it stays livable. And you know, Brian obviously didn't give a shit about that.
So much work I was doing on my computer this morning.
What do you do for a living?
Well, I used to work at an organic juice bar, but I just quit my job.
Okay.
I was a nutritionist. That's
okay.
That's my
That's
job.
cool.
And I just quit my job to travel across the country, and I'm trying to start a blog and have a blog and stuff. So I've been building my website. So I've just been really stressed.
See, the other thing is, she was being so successful, wasn't she, with her vlogs? She was popular. People liked it. She had thousands of following. He would have been so jealous, because what was he doing with his life? Absolutely sweet FA. So he, instead of supporting her and saying, yeah, that's brilliant that you're doing that, because at the end of the day, I think they were engaged. So at the end of the day, whatever, you know, success Gabby had would reflect on him. They were a couple, you know, so it's something that they could do together. But he would have been so jealous of her success, I think, and he couldn't stand it. That quite often happens. I was thinking about that the other day. You know, quite often, you know, behind, they'll say, oh, behind every successful man there's a good woman. You know, what about women getting? It's very hard to get support as a woman from your partner. It doesn't work. I know that whenever you're doing well with something, if you're an independent woman who's doing well with something, men don't like it. Sorry, they don't. Certainly some men, I mean, I'm sure there's loads of men who love it, and maybe some men would like to ride off it, you know, but there's a lot of men, they don't like it. It's like a threat to their ego that she was doing so well. And he really, what was he doing? But, and I think there was I think Brian probably had very big issues of self-esteem. That's the impression I get. I didn't know him, maybe he didn't. But, I'm sorry, but I think the result shows that he did. And he probably got angry with her for trying to take control sometimes. And then she would just back down and take all the blame on herself.
I believe that I could do any of it. That's kind of been like I don't know, he's like down there. I don't know, we've just been fighting all morning, and he wouldn't let me in the car before. And then
Why wouldn't he let you in the car? Because
he
of
told
your
me
OCD?
He told me I needed to calm down. Yeah.
Take a seat.
I didn't get overtly.
So then they separate them, and look at him. He's like, oh, Mr. Butter wouldn't melt. He's like Mr. Good Guy. The police are completely taken in by him.
I was just trying to keep her away and not get hit. And then I got really loud, and that's probably drew everyone's attention where I was going.
Yeah, I was just trying to push her away. What a twat. Sorry, it makes me really angry. Honestly, I haven't watched this for a long time. I find it really difficult not to be angry, because also I do think that the police, it's this white man syndrome. If he was like a black man or a Muslim or an immigrant, or he would not have, his story would not have been just accepted like that. But because he's a good old American boy, here we are again. Everybody can blame as many murders as they want on immigrants and that, but there's many more murders are committed by good old American boys, British boys, Australian boys than there are by immigrants. So, and I do feel that if Brian would have been a different ethnicity, the police would not have just accepted everything he said as gospel.
Back up, get away, just give me a...
Okay, so you said you pushed her to create some distance, obviously, right? What happened after that? What got the scratches on your eye?
The phone.
The phone? So you pushed her and she hit you?
She was... it wasn't like a push and she jumped on me. She was already... I don't want to... She was already swinging, and I was... Yeah, a lot of angles, a lot of nails, a lot of rings.
Yeah, you got 3 scratches on your neck. You got 1 on your left side of your nose. You got 1 on your face here.
He's got a scratch on his neck. Look at his massive hands. Size of Gabby. He's got a scratch on his neck. Come on. So, yeah, probably he was trying to do something to her then. That's why she scratched his neck. I bet he had a few scratches when he turned up at home after he'd strangled her.
Looks like 2 hands. Do you mind lifting up your right sleeve for me? I'm curious about something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a little bit of nails. I suppose fingernails, but I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining about fingernails.
Is it bruised?
Don't these police realise that when somebody is struggling, they're going to scratch their attacker? Why did they just assume that? I honest to God, sure. The more I watch that poor Gabby's family, I don't know if they ever watch this. If I were them, I don't think I would watch it back, because you get so angry with these police. So yeah, he's got scratches. People that murder people get scratches because the person's fighting for their life. So they're just concentrating on his injuries. But the problem is, Gabby has said to them, she's taken all the blame on herself, hasn't she? Bless her.
Pretender or anything like that?
Okay. I'm fine, and I love Gabby. I hope she doesn't have too many complaints about me. I'm just, I feel bad I have to get so public. I was just trying to be loud to listen. Try to make her calm down and be like, look, everyone's watching. I'll say crisscross applesauce, but can I just sit in the shade through the bulb? It's okay. I'll give you some shade. Sound good?
Alright, just hang tight for me. I've decided I am not going to cite you for domestic violence. battery. Okay, it was only going to be a Class B misdemeanor. However,
I'm not going to cite you for domestic violence. Look at her, bless her little heart. And what? Don't know what happened to these police. Did something happen to them? I don't know. I hope so, because I hope they're either not in the police anymore or they've had some proper training. For God's sake, look at her face. If they could not tell from her face what was going on.
the domestic violence portion of it enhances it. Makes like a major pain in the butt, especially you're 22, right? So I'm choosing not to cite you today. I'm not going to release you guys together. I want you guys to stay away from each other tonight, okay? She's agreed to it. Take some time to yourselves. You guys both have the exact same story as to what led up to the incident. So taking some time tonight, specifically, taking tonight away from each other is going to be the major breaker in all of this. I think that'll help you guys, especially tomorrow when you guys meet up. Just try to not contact each other unless, like I said, earth shattering, something happens. You guys have to jump in the car right now and drive back to Florida because something happened to parents.
So yeah, it's very disturbing, isn't it? Now I just want to show you the picture of the van. So this is where the van was parked when the people from Florida, the family from Florida were driving up this road. They saw the van, noticed that it had Florida plates, and it was on their video. Came up, slowed down, nobody came out, so they weren't sure. There's some talk that it almost looked like as they drove up to the van, it did look like Brian was getting inside the van, or somebody, the door seemed to close. Maybe Brian was inside that van at the time. Maybe even Gabby's body was inside that van at the time. We just don't know. But Gabby's body was found over the other side of this fence, buried. And it was this video that this family took, and that they contacted the police when they saw all the stuff on the telly, etc. That thankfully pinpointed an area where it's possible that Gabby might be, and Gabby's body was found. Thank God, because really, that Teton Park, it's enormous. And, that van had covered massive distances. Would they ever have found Gabby without this video footage? So this is definitely a case of social media helping an investigation. I hope one day the police learn to use social media as a help, not a hindrance in cases, especially things like this. I mean, I know social media can get hysterical. It certainly can sometimes. And that's got to be dealt with, I think. But, most to be fair, I think probably 90% of social media isn't all that hysteria. You've got like this 10% of idiots who go around just making things up, and, I just can't bear all that stuff. But you do get that. But I think really that is the minority, not the majority, personally, I think. Anyway, so when Gabby was found and she had her autopsy, it showed she died of strangulation. Let's just have a look at this.
Details here at 5:30, Rick. A coroner in Wyoming says Gabby Petito died from strangulation. The results were released this afternoon after Petito's body was found in a forest there weeks ago. Now, it comes as the search for her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, is still underway, with his parents saying they last saw.
Oh, sorry. So what should I do? So after that encounter with the police made them separate for that night. So I think it was, did Brian get the van and Gabby stayed in a hotel, or vice versa? They had to separate for one night. But of course, they got back together again the following day or whatever. And I think that's probably when, either that day or very soon after, that the incident happened. I mean, we don't know exactly what day it was. It was impossible to tell.
Saw him almost a month ago. ABC's Rena Roy now with the very latest.
A big development in the case that's gripped the nation. The Teton County coroner in Wyoming revealing how exactly 22-year-old Gabby Petito was killed.
We find the cause and manner to be death by strangulation, and manner is homicide.
Her remains were found in a national forest last month after she went missing on a cross-country road trip with her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, named a person of interest by investigators in the case. He returned home to Florida with Petito.
Whenever I look at Brian, I know I didn't know him and whatever, but he just looks like such a sanctimonious little shite to me, honestly. And maybe that's in view of what I know now. But he's got that very false look about him, like I say, like you say, Chumba, about Gabby, she smiles a lot, but sometimes her smile didn't touch her eyes. I think with Gabby, she needed to be free of Brian. She knew it. She had a big life out there waiting for her, but he knew that. But he wouldn't be able to cope with that. His insecurity, because he just didn't know how. He didn't even know how he'd ended up with Gabby. It was just like, oh my God, how have I managed this? Because he knew that he didn't deserve her.
Van, but without her.
My jaw could have hit the floor. The first thought in my head was, oh, they must have broken up and he doesn't want to talk about it and I'll give him space. And then he went missing.
The Laundrie family attorney says Brian left home to go for a hike at a nature reserve nearby on September 13th, one day earlier than his parents originally told investigators.
Even he looks like a dad to me. I mean, she looks so much younger than him. I know she wasn't. There was only a couple of years difference. But they're just the most mismatched couple. I mean, not that, look, sometimes that can work, but not with he had a big inferiority complex. That's why it couldn't work. He knew that Gabby was too good for him.
And 2 days after Petito was reported missing. That lawyer is saying the clarification came after further communication with the FBI. Gabby's parents speaking with Dr. Phil last week.
Do you believe he's hiding somewhere?
I do.
If you truly love.
Thing is, nobody knew at this time. Where was Brian? Brian had disappeared. As I say, there was rumors that he was on the Appalachian Trail. He was hiding out somewhere, but of course he was dead all this time. But I believe his parents knew that, and his parents treated Gabby's parents terribly. Gabby's parents were so, and I mean, because this is her dad, Joe, and his new partner, and her mum was with another partner. I think that's them that are here on the Dr. Phil show as well. They were so dignified in everything, I don't know how they did it. And Joe, of course, they've turned their experience into a positive because they've created the Gabby Petito Foundation. So they've brought something good out of it in Gabby's name. And sometimes families do that. Sometimes families can't cope, don't want to be on Dr. Phil or whatever. And then you get other families where they want to do it because they want something good to come out of their child's death or their loved one's death. And I think that's what happened with the Petitos. But at this point, as they're doing this interview, nobody had a clue where he was.
Loved her. You should turn yourself in.
You're only making it worse.
Laundrie is wanted on federal charges, accused of using someone else's debit card to withdraw at least $1,000 after.
See, they're hiding the name there, using someone else's debit card, but he was using her debit card. Withdrew at least $1,000.
Gabby's death. Laundrie's sister is urging her brother to cooperate with investigators. Meantime, the attorney for his parents says any speculation that they're helping Brian is just wrong. In New York, Rena Roy for Channel 6 Action News.
Yeah, so the Laundries came in for a lot of stick, didn't they? Which personally, I think they deserved all of it because the way they treated the Petitos, the thing is, it's the way that they blanked them. When the Petitos were texting them frantically, look, we haven't heard anything from Gabby. And there had been messages, but it seemed like they weren't from Gabby. I knew they were obviously Brian sending messages on her phone. You know, that's what I can't forgive the Laundries for. I mean, I understand that you love your child as well. You love your son, but you encourage them to do the right thing. You know, if your son comes home and says, look, I've just had a fit of jealousy, I've killed Gabby, bearing in mind, as I say, that they didn't know her. You know, she lived with them, they had a relationship with her. Then surely you would encourage them to do the right thing. You've got to go to the police, tell them everything, put the family out of their misery. But the Laundries didn't do that, did they? Yeah, so she'd moved, they'd begun dating. Gabby and Brian had started dating in 2019. So they'd been dating 2 years. And she'd moved in with him and his parents in Northport. They were both working, but it says here that they quit their jobs as the COVID-19 panic started. God. Anyway, so it was just after COVID that they decided to do this journey. You know, she worked. The thing is, Gabby, she took on extra jobs. I know. She took on extra jobs, you know, to pay for this van, to get this van organised, to go travelling. She paid for it all. She paid for it. It was her van. She was working 2 jobs. You know, just terrible, isn't it? Okay. So when was the last time that they were seen? Anyway, so it was August the 17th. So when was the domestic incident? Let's have a look. So on August the 12th was when they had that encounter with the police. On August the 17th, Brian took a flight from Salt Lake City to Tampa, Florida, and spent several days at an inn, a Fairfield Inn. And he checked out on August the 24th. Now, was she already dead then? Maybe Gabby was already dead. His lawyer said he made the trip to obtain some items and empty and close a storage unit to save money. And he returned on August the 23rd, supposedly, to rejoin Gabby and continue the trip. But Gabby's mum said she last spoke to her daughter on August the 25th. And that was when the final post was made on Gabby's Instagram account. So, just some strange things. So, few more eyewitness accounts of the couple after that. On August the 27th, a witness said that between 1 and 2 p.m. she saw Laundrie and Gabby together at a Tex-Mex restaurant. Laundrie was aggressive and had an argument. And then apparently Gabby returned to the restaurant crying and apologising for Brian Laundrie's behaviour. And then another witness contacted the FBI to report the activities and coordinates of a slow-moving white van and a young white man acting weird near the Spread Creek camping area. And that was on August the 26th, 27th, and possibly also August the 28th. And then another woman said on August the 29th in a TikTok video, she and her boyfriend gave him a lift from an area near Colter Bay Village after seeing him hitchhiking alone. Don't know if that was true though, was it? Was that true, or was that just one of those you know, there was a few sightings of him. So actually, I'm not going to read them because I don't know if they're true or not. But one thing that was true was that on August the 27th, Gabby's phone sent a text to her mother which read, "Can you help Stan? I just keep getting his voicemails and missed calls." And Stan was Gabby's grandfather, but she never referred to him by his first name. So it seems like by August the 27th, that was probably Brian sending those messages. And the very last message was sent on August the 30th, which simply said, "No service in Yosemite," which is a park. So there you go. And then he contacted his mum. Brian Laundrie contacted his mum on August the 29th, and on September the 1st, he returned home. Okay, so let's have a look at these letters. So there's a lot of letters came out during the trial. Let's have a look at this one. So this is, let me show it. This is the letter that Brian wrote. So this is the letter that they found, the police found. "Gabby, I wish I was right at your side. I wish I could be talking to you right now. I'd be going through every morning, every memory we made, getting even more excited for the future. But one last," sorry, I can't read all of it because, of course, I think these notebooks were found with his body. But one last something for the future. "Life, I can't live without you. I've lost every day, every holiday. I'll never get to play with something again, never go hiking with T. I loved you more than anything. I can't bear to look at our photos. I recall great times because it's why I cannot go on. When I close my eyes, I will think of laughing on the roof of the van, falling asleep to the sight of a meteor shower at the Crystal Geyser. I will always love you." Now, I think, Brian did love her in his own way. But, there's love and obsession are very close. If you really love someone, you would just let them do whatever they wanted to do. If you love someone, you want them to be happy, even if that means without you. Love is not control. That's control. Love, if you love someone, you want them to be happy, you want them to be free, you encourage them to follow their dreams, even if those dreams do not encourage you. If all you want is that they've got to do everything with you and it's all got to be about you, that's nothing to do with love at all. So then, of course, there were other letters, weren't they, from, oh God, I wasn't sharing that, sorry. There were other letters. That's them together. Let's have a look at the photos. Oh, bless. There it is, the letter. That's really Brian's confession letter, isn't it, that I think was presented at the trial. There were letters that his mum had written to him and he'd written to his mum. I think 100% his parents knew what he'd done and maybe even encouraged him to take his own life because, what was his alternative? He couldn't live without Gabby. He didn't want to go to prison. What was his alternative? Maybe they facilitated it for him. Wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. Very strange family, just full stop. Let's have a look. So, yeah, there was a lot of fuss. This was that letter that there was a lot of fuss about, that his mum Roberta sent him. Burn after reading, wasn't it, or something, she said. So I just want you to remember, I will always love you, and I know you will always love me. You are my boy. Nothing can make me stop loving you. Nothing will or could ever divide us, no matter what we do or where we go or what we say. We will always love each other. But that's like a love letter, isn't it? You know, to me, that would have been, look, I love you, son, yeah, but you've got to go to the police and tell them everything you know. You've got to put this family out of their misery. You know, that's what you'd be saying, wouldn't it? Of course you would still love your son. Of course you would. But you would, you know, you can't help that. They're still your son, whatever. But to have absolutely no concern for Gabby again or her family. This is just like Stefan Stearns' parents all over again. It's like, it's all about Stefan. Don't care about Madeline Soto. They don't care. They've never once said in those interview that we listened to, Stefan's mum or dad never once said, poor Madeline, what she'd gone through. And we're saying to Stefan, he's got to tell the truth. He's got, you know, he owes it to their family to be honest about what's happened. None of that. Same here. And, you know, yes, she will always love him. Of course she will. That's her son. But then the next line should have been, but please put Gabby's family out their misery. Tell them what's happened. You know, go to the police. Be honest. Goodness me. Anyway, so she said, if you're in jail, I will bake a cake with a file in it. If you need to dispose of a body, I will show up with a shovel and garbage bags. If you fly to the moon, I will be watching the skies for your re-entry. If you say you hate my guts, I'll get new guts. What? And Roberta included a Bible. Oh God, I'm not sharing again. Sorry, I always forget to share. Not good at sharing. Let's go back to that. I just want you to remember, I will always love you, and I know you will always love me. You are my boy. Nothing can make me stop loving you. Nothing will or could ever divide us, no matter what we do, where we go, or what we say. We will always love each other. If you're in jail, I will bake a cake with a file in it. If you need to dispose of a body, I will show up with a shovel and garbage bags. Do you know, I just can't believe that, because as I keep saying, you know, with the risk of sounding like a parrot, she knew Gabby. She had a relationship with Gabby. Gabby had been living with them. And she included a Bible verse from Romans 8:38. She ended the letter by saying, nothing can separate us, not hatred, not hunger, not homelessness, not threats, not even sin, not the unthinkable, the thinkable or the unthinkable can get between us. Not time, not miles and miles. And the letter was in an envelope that read, Brian Christopher Laundrie, burn after reading. Now, she tried to play that down. She said the letter had nothing to do with Gabby Petito. It was written months before Gabby Petito's death. I don't know about that, to be honest. Anyway, only Roberta knows the truth. And her husband, maybe, because Brian's gone. Let's just watch this video. Oh, let me just, there's a little video here I wanted to show you, but it's clicked on.
She could have been protected that day.
Tonight, the family of Gabby Petito.
We need to bring justice because she could have been protected that day.
Tonight, the family of Gabby Petito officially filing a $50 million wrongful death lawsuit against a Utah police department, alleging they could have saved the 22-year-old's life.
If the Moab police had followed the requirements of the Utah law, the Utah statutes on domestic violence, Gabby would still be alive today.
So, tell me what's going on.
Christina gets worked up sometimes, and I try and really distance myself from her.
The lawsuit accuses Moab City Police of failing to protect Petito during a domestic disturbance investigation last August, just weeks before her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, killed her.
You want to tell me about those scratches on your face?
She had a cell phone in her hand, that's why I was pushing her away.
The suit also says the officers incorrectly concluded that Petito was the primary aggressor in the situation without properly questioning Laundrie.
I've decided I am not going to cite you for domestic violence battery, okay?
Do you think they have a good case here?
Unfortunately for the Petitos, they do not have a strong case. It's easy to look at this video and say that more police officers should have done something differently under these circumstances. But that doesn't mean that they can be held liable. Police officers in the United States are given broad swaths of immunity to make mistakes.
The city of Moab saying in a statement on August 12, no one could have predicted the tragedy that would occur weeks later and hundreds of miles away, and the city of Moab will ardently defend against this lawsuit. The lawsuit also states that one of the officers, Eric Pratt, was, quote, fundamentally biased in the investigation based on witnesses and other evidence demonstrating Pratt was a domestic abuser. They were unable to reach Officer Pratt for comment. Petito and Laundrie were traveling together across the United States on a van life journey, documenting it on social media along the way.
Hello and good morning.
Laundrie returned home from the road trip on September 1st without Petito in October of...
See, like this picture, you know, you just feel that as soon as the camera had gone off that, they were probably at each other's throats or whatever. It looks so false, so staged, doesn't it? Really, really does. Doesn't look genuine. To me, anyway.
About a month after Petito's remains were found, Brian Laundrie's body was discovered in a nature preserve not far from his parents' Florida home, along with writings in a notebook that claimed responsibility for killing Petito.
This lawsuit is to honor Gabby's legacy and working for change in the system to protect victims of domestic abuse and violence.
All right, Stephen Romo joins us now in studio. So, Stephen, separate from this lawsuit, we also know that the Petito family has filed a lawsuit against the Laundrie family.
Yeah, that's something that's still working its way through the legal system right now. The Petito family claims the Laundries inflicted emotional distress for their alleged inaction in this case. Well, earlier this year, the Laundries asked a judge to dismiss that case, but he did not. And those depositions are expected to happen later this year, Tom.
Anyway, very sad story, of course. But to finish off, I want to just show you the Gabby Petito Foundation, because this is the positive. You know, we have to look at the positivity that has come out of it. And I think, or I hope that, you know, this is what Gabby's parents would want, that people... So here it is. Oh, look at that. That was so beautiful, isn't it? Such a beautiful picture, that. I'm going to save that because it's so beautiful. Yeah, about us. With a mission to turn our tragedy into purpose, the Gabby Petito Foundation was born. We want to address the needs of organisations that support locating missing persons and to provide aid to organisations. Hi, Wesley. Aid to organisations that assist survivors of domestic violence through education, awareness and prevention strategies. Gabby's story. Oh. This is where I could get upset now. So Gabby Petito, age 22, born March 19th, 1999, and died on August the 27th, 2021. She touched the world. Well, she did touch the world, and that's what she wanted, you know. When I was on the way to the supermarket this morning, I just popped to the supermarket for a few bits, and I was thinking about this live that I was going to do. And I thought, I'm going to do about Gabby because it's been 3 years. And then I was thinking, you know, because I always do go through this bit of a crisis of conscience. You know, would she want to be talked about on the internet? And I think, honestly, with Gabby, she would. That's what she did. She put her life on the internet. She would, you know, as I say, I don't know her personally, but I hope, you know, I hope I'm doing her justice. I hope, you know, she would approve of trying to tell her story and what her parents are trying to do. You know, it's always a crisis of conscience you go through as a YouTuber. Some YouTubers don't seem to give a shit, but for me, it's always a think about, is this doing some good, you know, or is this just being salacious? You know, people are interested in true crime. That's a fact. So, you know, you can't hide from that and pretend that people are interested in. They do. So if you report on true crime or if you talk about true crime, all you can do is be respectful, can't you? You can be respectful and you have to think, well, you know, is telling Gabby's story a positive thing? And I think it is a positive thing because, and like, well, there you go, her parents are doing it. Is it only her parents that should do it? Or the thing is, as a YouTuber, you can bring awareness to people who may not have heard of it before. Because if you're a regular true crime viewer, you will have heard about Gabby Petito's story. But there'll be people out there that have never really followed this story or don't know about Gabby. So it's important to always keep their names in the public eye, I think. You know, that's my reasoning behind it. But so Gabrielle Venora Petito entered the world on March the 19th, 1999. Tragically, on August the 27th, 2021, her life was cut short at the young age of 22. She was on a cross-country road trip with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, visiting national parks when he strangled her to death, and this devastating event highlights the horrific reality that some individuals can become perpetrators of violence against those they should cherish and safeguard. I mean, I'm sure Brian, in his own perverted way, did love Gabby, but it was all about him. It's what she could offer. He didn't love her in the sense of setting her free and letting her be the best person that she could be for her. It was all about him and what she could do for him. And instead of safeguarding her, he committed an unforgivable act of violence. He then proceeded to Florida using her van. This is what gets her, using her van, and nobody queried it, and phoned to craft a facade that suggested she was still alive. Anyway, Gabby was a free spirit who loved travel, art, and nature. She was just starting her life as a van life travel vlogger and was full of joy as her journey was just beginning. She created the YouTube channel Nomadic Static, where she posted about her travels. Her smile could fill a room. She loved movies, music, healthy food, and created amazing works of art. Gabby was a wonderful big sister, the oldest of 6. They looked up to her and adored her. The tragic loss of Gabby has shattered our family. Our hearts will forever be broken. Oh. So they've set up this non-profit organisation. I think it's brilliant. And I think they, you know, her family have been so dignified, really, really have. So. Yes, actually, this happened. Did this not happen about the same time as Nicola Bulley? No, Nicola Bulley was, where are we now? 2024. So Nicola Bulley was 2022. This happened just before, didn't it? In the autumn of 2021. Time goes quick. 3 years ago. 3 years have gone past. Bless her. Okay, so I'm going to finish off now. Tonight is Members Live. I'm looking forward to that. You keep on chatting, members. Let me know. Do you want to do another case? I've got loads of cases I want to do. Or do you want to do something a bit lighter, something a bit more fun tonight? I've got some fun things we could talk about. I might put a poll out, you know, on the community. And if you're not a member of Let's Chat, Keep On Chatting, you can upgrade or you can become a member for $4.99 a month. I'm looking forward to tonight. I hope Jim's not on and he's not had a drink again. No, I don't hope he's not on. I hope he's on, but let's hope he's not been drinking. We do, you know, because I always think, oh, in the members, it's always going to be relaxing and stuff. But, you know, you never know what's going to happen, even in the members. Okay, so take care, and I'll see you later in the next video. And Jan 2023. So it was 2 years. It was 2 years later then. This was 2021. Oh. Do you know what? All the years have just rolled into one. Since 2020, do you know what? I remember when it turned to 2020, I remember writing that on like receipts that I was giving people like Spanish classes and thinking, God, this feels like something. There was something weird about 2020, and that's where everything started going weird, didn't it? And it wasn't long before we had COVID, and I just felt it that there was something strange about the year 2020. It was surreal. Anyway, I feel like the world's coming back on its axis now. I'm going to feel positive. I think that things are going to get better. Get these wars finished. You know, I mean, the world will never be perfect, will it? It's a big place and there's a lot of bad things going on around the world. But we have to remember the good things as well. Okay, so I'll see you later in the Members Live if you're a member. If not, please think about becoming a member. And I'll see you later. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I was going to put my video on, but I think it's got to be Gabby, hasn't it? Got to go out with Gabby and a little bit of music. Rest in peace, Gabby. You know, the world is a poorer place without Gabby. But having said that, hopefully some positivity has come out of it. Let's have a bit of music to go with Gabby's photo to finish. Sorry, it just takes me a while to get down into it. Let's try this one. And until I see you again, remember to live and love wisely and carefully, and may your God go with you. Bye.